Welcome to Your Extraordinary Life Chatham-Kent, where we're joining the drive to make Chatham-Kent the healthiest community in Canada. We're excited to come back to the podcast. We're back. I'm Dr. Jamie Richards from the Life by Design Center, and I'm here with my good friend, my business partner, Dr. Steve Barati. Steve, welcome to the podcast. We're back again. I'm excited.
We are back. Yeah, it's great to be back.
I know. This is something that we had started a while back, and then life got crazy. We got you integrated into, taking over as the clinic director here in our practice. And I mean, obviously things have been going extremely well and just massive amounts of success in the cases that we've had over the last year. So now it's time to dig back into the podcast to tackle some topics that people have sent to us and really, create an educational avenue for people in our community. So guys, listen to the podcast today. If you need to touch base with our practice, I'll put all the links that you need in the different components, whether it's Life by Design Center, Extraordinary Life Chiropractic, the Fit Club, Charlie's Cafe, all the things that are going on here. And if scheduling a case review with our team is something that can be helpful, or consulting with the Fit Club, then of course you can just follow those links and let us know. So today, Steve, we're talking about arthritis.
Arthritis, exactly. And I think it's important that we go over this topic because when we were brainstorming some of the different things that we want to talk about, what are the different things that we want you guys to know, it's really about the questions that people are fielding, on a day-to-day basis. And I think, one of the more important ones or popular ones that's been coming up a lot lately is, osteoarthritis. Can we help with osteoarthritis?
Well, it's funny you say, can we help? Because that's something that we hear a lot in our practice. And, when you learn more about the Life by Design Blueprint, which we'll talk a bit about today, and it'll be a recurring theme over and over again on the podcast, can we help? It's can we help with, and it's literally insert the condition here. Can you help with headaches? Can you help with arthritis? Can you help with digestive problems? Can you help with colic? Can you help with sleep? And, that makes sense as a customer, as a consumer. If you have a problem that you're aware of course you're going to think, can somebody help me with this? So we're going to tackle some of these topics, and at the same time, we're going to put our spin on them that's going to be unique and different. And what I'll tell you in advance, I'll give you the end of the movie right now. Can you help with? The answer is probably going to be yes, no matter what you put in there. And that might sound crazy, but hang with us in the podcast today and you'll understand why. Now, I want to make it clear, we're not saying we can treat, cure, or necessarily fix everything that fits in that blank, but can you help with? If you overlay this blueprint, which we'll show you how to do today and give you some of the action steps, it's likely that whatever condition you're dealing with, there's going to be an improvement. Now, some of the improvements might be drastic, some of the improvements might be, medium, some of them might be smaller, depending on the specific situation. So let's dig into that, Steve. Talk about arthritis. I know you mentioned osteoarthritis, but there's different types of arthritis, and I think that's the first step. Yeah,
that's a great starting point. I mean, you'll hear these words thrown around a lot. Rheumatoid arthritis is another one. Very important distinction, because rheumatoid arthritis, or RA, that's an inflammatory condition. Right? And it's very different to what we're really trying to talk about today, which is osteoarthritis. And that's really going to be our focal point, but a very important distinction that we want to make.
Well, I believe, when we get patients in, a lot of times they'll say, well, I have arthritis. And the thought for them often is, I have arthritis, there's nothing you can do. I have arthritis, or I can't take this action step. And when it comes to osteoarthritis, that couldn't be further from the truth. If you have osteoarthritis, we'll talk about the cause and why you have osteoarthritis, but the solution to that is actually doing a lot of the things that we're encouraging you to do and that are a part of the blueprint.
Absolutely. And I think there's power in that, right? Knowing that there is something that you can do, there is things that are in your control, right? It's important that, we get people to realize that as well. Right.
So let's talk about arthritis. We're talking about specifically osteoarthritis here. It brings up, I think, a really easy starting point, which is Wolff's Law. So I'll use calluses as an example. For those who are watching the video version, we do post this on our YouTube channel. So if you want to watch the video on YouTube, you can do that. Throw it up on the big TV. Listen to Dr. Steve and Dr. Jamie, when you're home doing prepping your food. We'll be looking in, peering in, making sure you're following all the steps that we give you today. But if you can see my hand, I have calluses, and I shave those calluses down. But I have calluses because I lift weights and I exercise. And my body adapts by building new skin there. It's an adaptation. And, Wolff's Law says that in the areas where there are the greatest stresses on bone tissue, the body will adapt by laying down bone. And that bony growth that you see in the spine, in this example, is osteoarthritis. And so, in a sense, osteoarthritis is perfect given the condition that the body is in. It's a perfect adaptation. It doesn't make it ideal. It doesn't make it the most functional state. And it doesn't mean there's not a host of other issues that come along with it. But the first thing that we want to mention is we don't just look at this as a mistake that the body made.
The body's smart, right? And it's just trying to do the best that it possibly can given the circumstances that we subject it to.
Right.
Right? And so, when there are mechanical stresses to the spine through Wolff's Law, your body's going to change, it's going to adapt, and it's really just going to try to protect and stabilize.
Now, let me ask you this. A lot of patients will say, yeah, but I'm just getting older, or it's just a part of the normal aging. What do you usually say to them in that situation?
Well, before I even get there, I'm surprised at the number of people that we've had come into the practice, different cases, and we've seen over 4,000 cases, but the cases that we get coming in who have actually been told that they have arthritis but have never seen their x-rays, never seen their films. And so it's also important that, part of our process and what we do here is we actually go over the films. We put them on a TV. We explain.
Well, first off, we tape them. That's actually the first. A lot of times people have a set of symptoms like, oh, I'm stiff, I'm achy. Oh, well, you just have arthritis. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, without actual diagnostic testing, without structural radiography, you can't really identify osteoarthritis, especially of the spine, specifically in terms of what we're looking at. And it is always interesting, people will say, but I have arthritis, and it's just because I'm getting older. But if you look at an x-ray or a structural radiograph, especially of the cervical spine and the neck, you'll see an increased amount of bone growth at certain areas, often in the mid to lower cervicals, 5, 6, and 7. And yet, those bones are the same age as the rest of the bones. Mm-hmm. So if it's just aging, why is C5, 6, and 7, why is it quote-unquote older, right, than the rest of the spine? It's not. There's a stress pattern that's developing there. A lot of times because, again, if you're watching the video, if the curvature in the neck has started to fall forward, you've lost that, what we call a lordosis, or an arc in the spine, and the body adapts by laying down new bone to protect it, which is actually perfect.
It's fabulous.
Right? It's amazing when you look at it. The problem is, the longer that goes, the more that adaptation occurs. It'd be no different than having calluses growing out of control, or if you were to put a sling on your elbow after breaking it, and then you never rehabilitated your elbow. So if you think about that, the solution to this elbow problem is actual rehabilitation. It's movement. And the same is actually true with the spine.
Exactly. And that's really our main objective and goal, is to figure out, number one, is there, how is this affecting you, right? And that's where, the test don't guess really becomes important, using structural radiology to get a deeper understanding of what is actually going on. And then from there, figuring out, well, number one, can we also help? Right? And again, I think an important piece, just like the elbow that's been, stuck in that position in a sling for some extended period of time, you have to be able to rehabilitate. You have to be able to generate movement into that joint. And that's part of the biostructural restoration process, is providing movement to the spine.
Well, and it leads us to the blueprint, which is the 4 components. So if you're new to Life by Design and the Life by Design blueprint, it's not saying there's not other things that need to happen in the body, but it makes sense to me that we focus our attention on the biggest bang for the buck components, and we've based it around 4 fundamental needs of the body. We're calling them the rules of the body, really. You need a certain type of nutritional base. You need a certain series of movements in your body. The body needs to move. There needs to be nutritional components. And then there's a whole mental side of it as well. And so we have think, move, eat, and power by design. Those are the 4 components. Now, depending on where you start within Life by Design, you may be doing one or all of those, but they're all necessary in terms of, at least if you're looking at pure optimization. Now, when it comes to the osteoarthritis, what I want to get across to our listeners and viewers here is that the blueprint doesn't change on the condition. So whether it's osteoarthritis, whether it's headaches, whether it's digestive problems, whether it's sleep, energy, whatever the condition is, the blueprint is the same. And so you start with testing, you figure out where a person is deficient in the blueprint, and you apply those action steps and you continuously retest. What you see is, just like if you gave a plant water that it wasn't getting, the plant starts to come back to life. It's the same for the body. When it starts to get the things it needs, it starts to change and heal. And when it comes to osteoarthritis, you'll probably not see a regression of bone growth. Right? I think that's an important thing to mention.
Yeah, what's done is done. right? Unfortunately.
For the most part, yes.
Exactly, for the most part. But again, there are things that you can control and things
Yes.
that you can do. And what are those things?
Well, again, biostructural restoration. So testing and addressing the biostructural problems. That's what a corrective chiropractor does. Different from a traditional chiropractor, not better or worse, just different. And that's what we do in our practice, and that's what our specialty is in. And then let's talk about food. I don't want to get too much today on today's podcast because we're going to get into this in future episodes. But just understand that your nutritional base has something to do with osteoarthritis. And I'm not talking about taking a bunch of supplements, although that may be helpful in terms of reducing your symptomatology, feeling better. But just in terms of healing and repair, you've got to give your body the building blocks. So things like omega-3s,
Adequate protein.
collagen,
Absolutely.
right? Those are the fundamental, and there's more to it than that. Obviously, we can get into bone. We'll tackle these on other podcasts.
There's a lot.
There's a lot we're going to talk about. So we're excited for that. So the take home for today, Steve, is that osteoarthritis is different from rheumatoid arthritis. That it is a normal adaptation to stress. It's not normal aging. Mm-hmm. Now, it might be average across the population, and many people have it, but that doesn't mean that it's normal or ideal in that sense. Mm-hmm. And every person would benefit by having in place these components of the blueprint. And I think that's what we're going to keep repeating over and over again. So if you're listening in, I would say, follow us on Instagram. You can find us there. Follow us on Facebook. You can find us there. Follow us on YouTube. Yep. You can find us there. Check out the podcast and subscribe and like. And, if you love today's episode, what I would love for you to do is leave a review. If you leave a review on the podcast, then we'll mention you on the podcast and give you a shout out as well. Share this wherever you can, and if there's any way we can help you, then just follow the link, schedule a complimentary case review with one of us, your corrective chiropractors, consult with the Fit Club. We've got everything here in place to help you follow this blueprint and put it into action and really get extraordinary results.
Yeah, that's it. Couldn't have said it better myself.
Awesome. So, guys, thank you for watching today's episode of Your Extraordinary Life Chatham-Kent and joining the drive to make Chatham-Kent the healthiest community in Canada.
See you guys.